Cardi B's week just went from bad to burn this whole thing down, because not only is her love life looking like a canceled tour, now her prized Birkin bags, those emotional support accessories she clutches like communion, might be made in China. Yes, the same Cardi who flexes five-figure purses like badges of emotional stability might be out here crying into a counterfeit. But hold up, this isn't just a Birkin breakdown. This might be the luxury expose of the decade. TikTok whistleblowers, designer drama, celebrity denial spirals. Everyone from Kim Kardashian to Naomi Campbell is weighing in. And baby, the stitching is coming undone, literally. Cardi B is in the middle of a full-blown personal and public meltdown. Quiet divorce rumors swirling. Stefon Diggs popping up like her next plot twist. And now, her beloved Birkins, the same bag she treats like emotional support animals, might be as fake as the loyalty in her last relationship. Allegations are exploding that these high-end status symbols aren't handcrafted in quiet French ateliers, but mass-produced in Chinese factories. If the most elite bag in the world is basically a luxury lie, then what's real in fashion anymore? Because if the Birkins are bogus, the whole luxury game might be a scam. For Cardi B, the Birkin bag isn't just a fashion statement, it's a lifeline. It's what she clutches when the world is falling apart. When Offset cheats, when Twitter drags her, when the spotlight burns too hot, there's always a Birkin. It's the symbol of everything she's fought for: validation, survival, status. She's built an entire persona around these bags, wrapped her pain in ostrich leather and crocodile skin. So now, to find out that the same bag she's cried into, flexed with, and poured millions into might be stitched together in Chinese factories for a fraction of the price? That's not just a scandal, it's a betrayal, a personal violation. But this isn't just Cardi's heartbreak, it's everyone's. Because if the Birkin isn't real, what else is fake? The Chanel? The Rolex? The whole luxury illusion starts to crack. We've been sold a dream, a $1,000 bag that makes us feel like we matter, that we've made it. And now that dream might be manufactured on the same factory lines as the knockoffs we laughed at. This is a full-blown luxury identity crisis. And whether you're a rap superstar or just someone who's saved up for your first designer piece, this scandal cuts deep. And trust me, Cardi might be the face of it, but she's far from the only one spiraling. Kim Kardashian was first. Of course she was. She's basically the human face of luxury branding. She posted a black and white story with crisp serif font that read, "We stand by the artisans who uphold the legacy of craftsmanship and luxury." No photo, no emotion, just cold, clinical wording straight from a crisis PR playbook. And it landed like a lead balloon. People weren't reassured, they were suspicious. Because Kim has a literal vault of Birkins. If anyone should be flipping out, it's her. Instead, she treated it like a quarterly earnings report. Then there was Kylie Jenner, the girl who flaunts baby-sized Birkins for her toddler. Her entire identity is built on quiet flex culture. So what did she say? Just a forward comment under a viral TikTok. "This is crazy, LOL." No caps, no punctuation. Like this wasn't about her entire aesthetic collapsing. That LOL hit like a nervous laugh, like even she doesn't know how to spin this one yet. Now Zendaya, she never talks. Never. So when she spoke up in an obscure European fashion interview, people paid attention. She said, "Authenticity means everything to me. And when that's compromised, it's unsettling." No direct mention of Birkin, but the implication was crystal clear. If even Zendaya's pristine radar is pinging, you know something's seriously wrong behind the scenes. And then Naomi Campbell didn't just respond, she erupted. In a live stream, she looked straight into the camera and practically growled, "Do not disrespect the artisans. Do not disrespect the legacy. This is not a game." It was fierce, emotional, raw, but also raised eyebrows. Because Naomi has been tied to these fashion houses for decades. Her defense felt personal, but also maybe a little too invested. Like she wasn't just defending art, she was defending her own receipts. And then, Bella Hadid, the reigning queen of vague internet sadness. She posted a blurry, black and white selfie with the caption, "Everything feels off lately." Was she talking about the bags? The backlash? Her love life? No one knows. But the timing? Suspicious. She didn't clarify, didn't deny, just floated it out there like a perfume ad with anxiety. One thing is clear. Even the most elite are confused, cornered, and clutching at answers. When they're this rattled, when the people who usually set trends are suddenly stunned spectators, you know this isn't just a rumor. It's a rupture. The luxury lie is unraveling in real time. And then, out of nowhere, enters the wild card, the TikTok bag slasher. His name? Tanner Leatherstain, a quiet, methodical leatherworker who's been posting for years about how to spot genuine craftsmanship. Usually it's low-key stuff, tanning techniques, edge finishing, how to tell real from fake. But then he did it. He took a box-fresh luxury handbag, one of those jaw-dropping five-figure styles, and he sliced it open on camera. Surgical precision. No music. No drama. Just clean cuts through $20,000 worth of status symbol. And what he showed, it wasn't the buttery, full-grain leather we're told justifies those price tags. No. Inside the seams, it looked eerily ordinary. Laminated filler. Machine-stamped lining. Glue where there should have been stitching. It looked like something off a mid-tier assembly line, not out of a Parisian atelier. Now here's the key detail. Tanner never said it was made in China. He didn't name any factory. He didn't point fingers. He's no conspiracy theorist. He's careful, deliberate, technical. What he did say was that the construction didn't match the luxury label's mythology. Period. But TikTok did what TikTok does, and the internet filled in the rest. Comments exploded with speculation. People started matching serial numbers to gray market bag dealers. Others dug into leak supplier lists. And somehow, Tanner's quiet dissection turned into a raging bonfire of accusations about outsourcing, deceit, and yes, Chinese manufacturing. But let's be very clear. Tanner is not the source of the leak. He never confirmed the origin of the bag. What he did do was hold up a mirror to the luxury industry. And what we saw reflected back looked cheap, mass-produced, and unsettlingly familiar. And that silence from the brands? Deafening. No denials. No clarifications. Just radio static. So now, Tanner Leatherstain isn't just a craftsman. He's an accidental whistleblower. A bag slasher turned prophet. And his one quiet video might have just exposed a truth the fashion world has spent billions trying to bury. And just when the online frenzy hit a boiling point, it got real. No more speculation. No more side-eye TikToks. Out of the digital shadows came what looked like cold, hard proof from inside the very factories themselves. It started on a fringe Chinese labor forum, small, mostly ignored by Western media, where an anonymous user posted what they claimed were production receipts. Not for knockoffs. Not for dupes. These were invoices marked with internal order codes that matched luxury brand SKUs. We're talking serial numbers that collectors and resellers could actually trace. The kind of paperwork that doesn't come from the street, it comes from the system. Then came the videos. Grainy but damning. Workers in nondescript white rooms, surrounded by high-end handbag shells, methodically assembling parts piece by piece. The camera pans, you see branded dust bags, tags in multiple languages, and what looks like real-time tracking labels being printed and packed. It wasn't someone making fakes, it was someone fulfilling what looked like a real international order. And one clip? One shook the internet like an earthquake. A close-up shot of a heat stamp press going down on a leather panel, embossing the logo of a globally worshipped luxury house. Not crooked, not janky, perfect, the kind of finish you'd expect from a $15,000 Birkin. And yet, the person operating the machine, wearing a t-shirt that read, Shenzhen Logistics and Leather Company. Not Paris, not Milan, not even a whisper of Europe. Suddenly, people started asking, if this is fake, why does it look so official? And if it's real, where's the paper trail? Where are the shipping logs? The supplier records? The brand statements? But here's the thing. There is no paper trail, at least not publicly. No company has stepped forward to clarify or deny. Not a single brand has addressed the leaked footage. No cease and desists. No public lawsuits. Just silence. And that silence? It's loud. It's suspicious. because usually luxury houses move fast when their image is on the line. But this time, it's like they're holding their breath and praying it'll all just blow over. But the most unsettling layer? The workers themselves. Because if these leaks are real, they're not just exposing a brand, they're risking everything. In China's hyper-competitive manufacturing world, whistleblowers don't get rewarded. They get blacklisted. Worse, they can face legal threats or worse from the very corporations they help build. So why post? Why now? Some speculate it's a labor protest. Others say it's an ethics bomb from someone who finally snapped after years of watching handcrafted European luxury being pumped out of high-volume Chinese sweatshops. Whatever the reason, the message is clear. Someone on the inside is done playing along. And if even the hands that built these bags are turning on the brands, maybe it's because the lie has gotten too big to ignore. It started with jokes, memes, Twitter threads clowning on celebs with walk-in Birkin closets. Sis really flew to Paris for a maid in Shenzhen special. People laughed. There were side-by-side comparisons of high-end bags and alleged factory cousins. And for a minute, it felt like another classic internet moment. Rich people getting roasted for their taste. But then the laughter turned bitter. Because underneath the snark was something raw. Something that cut deeper than fake leather. People weren't just mocking luxury buyers. They were grieving the idea of luxury itself. Think about it. For years, we've been told that these things, Birkins, Kellys, Dior's, the whole glossy pantheon, weren't just bags. They were heirlooms, investments, markers of taste and discipline and access. And suddenly, you're telling folks they've been flexing $25,000 versions of a bag that rolled off the same line as a $200 dupe on Alibaba? That the artisanship was just part of the fantasy, like the perfume samples in the box? That's not funny anymore. That's personal, especially for people who saved for those bags. For people who took out credit cards, postponed bills, chased status to feel worthy in rooms that told them they didn't belong. This wasn't just a class war between the ultra-rich and the broke. It was between the aspirational and the betrayed. Fashion stands, people who've studied collections, idolized designers, built identities around taste, started posting real heartbreak. One girl broke down on TikTok, saying her mom cried after seeing the factory videos. She had gifted her a Hermes bag after years of working 2 jobs. It wasn't just a gift, it was a moment. And now, it felt like a scam. Another tweet went viral from a stylist who said, "I used to save designer dust bags. Now I want to throw them out like trash." Suddenly, the tone online shifted. What began as a gleeful pile-on became mourning. Not just for money spent, but for the meaning people attach to luxury. The promise that if you work hard enough, you too can touch the untouchable. Because if these bags weren't made by master artisans in candlelit ateliers, but by overworked laborers in high-speed assembly lines, then what's the point of all this? Why chase the dream if it was mass-produced all along? And that's the horror sitting just under the surface. Not just that luxury lied, but that we believed them, that we wanted to believe, that maybe we needed to. Because if even the most sacred, untouchable brands are built on illusion, what else is? Social media lost its damn mind. By the time the factory footage had made its rounds, TikTok was flooded with duets, stitches, and breakdowns that looked less like product reviews and more like post-breakup therapy sessions. And honestly, that's exactly what it felt like. You weren't just watching people react to a scandal. You were watching hearts break in real time. One girl sat in her car sobbing, clutching a powder pink Chanel flat bag like it was a love letter from an ex. You mean to tell me this wasn't made by a French woman in a little atelier sipping espresso with Edith Piaf playing in the background? She screamed, mascara running down her cheeks. The comments were a funeral procession of same, sis, and I feel violated. Another user filmed a TikTok in total silence. She stood in her walk-in closet, surrounded by rows of Birkins and Kellys, panning slowly like she was taking stock after a robbery. The caption? I feel like I've been cheated on for years and just found the texts. People were grieving, but also joking because that's the only way to survive a betrayal this deep. A viral sound popped off that used the line, "He told me he was different." He told me he was built different. But instead of a man, the background was a Louis Vuitton Neverfull bag spinning on a lazy Susan. There were entire threads comparing this moment to finding out your man had a whole second family in another city. One tweet said, "My Chanel was out here getting its back blown out in a Guangzhou sweatshop while I thought we were exclusive." The like count? Pushing 1 million. The mood was chaotic, but not just petty. It was existential. Because for so long, luxury has been treated like this holy thing. A religion, almost. You saved up, prayed, went on wait lists, behaved at the boutique, dressed the part. And in return, you got a little slice of heaven. A perfect bag. A handcrafted promise. A piece of a world you weren't born into, but maybe, just maybe, could buy your way into. Now, that world's foundation is cracking. And social media is the epicenter. Creators started digging deeper, showing side-by-side comparisons of bags bought in Paris versus ones found in outlet markets, and finding zero difference. Accounts that once worshipped these brands started pivoting, exposing how marketing, colonial aesthetics, and white glove service tricked people into assigning moral value to material goods. Luxury was always a fantasy, one user said. The problem is we didn't know we were paying for the lie, not the bag. And that's the theme that's starting to emerge through the noise. Luxury was never about the product. It was about the promise. The fantasy. The idea that some things were too rare, too special, too pure to be mass-produced like everything else. But if that illusion breaks, if the pedestal crumbles, then the entire system starts to look fake. And that's the scariest part for a lot of people. Not that their bag came from China, but that the myth they built their self-worth on, that might have never been real at all. Let's talk numbers, because beneath all the feelings, all the celebrity confusion, and the PR gymnastics, there's one thing that doesn't lie. The math. Allegedly, some of these so-called luxury bags, yes, even the ones tucked behind velvet ropes in Parisian boutiques and sold only after you've established a relationship with a sales associate, cost as little as $400 to manufacture. We're talking leather, hardware, stitching, labor, transport, all in. $400. And yet, that same bag is routinely sold for $7,000, $10,000, sometimes even $30,000 if it's exotic skin or limited edition. Do the math. That's a markup of 1,750% or more. In any other industry, that would be criminal. In fashion, it's called exclusivity. Now here's where the dramatic irony hits like a slap in the face. Think about the boutique experience. The champagne, the hush tones, the white gloves, the security guard who follows you around like you're casing the joint. All of that is deliberate. It's theater. It creates the illusion that this product is rare, fragile, divine. That it's being bestowed upon you, not sold. And you leave with your embossed orange bag feeling like royalty, like you've earned something sacred. Meanwhile, that bag may have been churned out by workers in a massive Shenzhen facility at breakneck speeds. It sat on a table next to dozens of others, assembled under fluorescent lights, shipped in bulk to Europe, and slightly finished just enough to qualify for that sacred made in France or made in Switzerland stamp. Suddenly, the whole luxury experience starts to look like a magician's trick. Not because the craftsmanship is necessarily bad, but because the story wrapped around the item is the real product. The drama, the scarcity, the mystique. That's what you're paying for. The bag? That's just a prop. And that realization stings. Because it forces you to ask, was I ever buying a bag at all? Or was I sold a dream? Was I buying into a feeling of power? Of status? Of security? Was I trying to prove something to myself? Or to the world? And if that dream was engineered, if the narrative was mass-produced just like the product, then who am I without it? And maybe that's the question that's scaring everyone right now. Not is my bag fake, but what part of me was built on this illusion? Because the truth isn't just in the supply chain. It's in the psychology. Luxury isn't selling you leather. It's selling you belonging. And now that the curtain's been pulled back, we all have to decide, was the fantasy worth it? Or worse, was it the only thing holding us together? The insiders always knew. The stylists. The buyers. The former interns who kept their heads down and mouths shut while packing those heritage handbags straight off the shipping crates from China. The junior merchandisers who whispered behind NDA-cloaked Slack channels. The fashion editors who would nudge each other knowingly when they saw a so-called limited release bag duplicated in bulk under different names across multiple brands. This wasn't a secret in the industry. It was a secret to you. To the everyday buyer, the influencer who got her first Birkin and cried in the boutique, the finance bro who splurged on a Rolex to celebrate a promotion, the fashion student who saved up all summer for that one Loewe puzzle bag she thought was handcrafted by a Spanish artisan. These people, they're just now realizing the con. And the insiders? They're watching the panic unfold with that eerie stillness you only get from someone who's been through the heartbreak already. Because for them, this betrayal didn't happen on TikTok last week. It happened years ago, in a factory visit they weren't supposed to speak about, in a cost sheet that showed Swiss movement, but made in China-based components, in a mood board presentation where the margins were the real product. Not the bag, not the watch, not the shoe. And here's the real kicker. They never said anything, not because they didn't care, but because they knew no one would believe them. Luxury thrives on denial, on the sacredness of status. The very idea that you, with your Amex Platinum and your 3-month boutique relationship, could still be sold something mass-produced, it didn't compute. So the people who did know, the insiders, learned to keep quiet. Or worse, they became complicit. They told themselves the lies were necessary to protect the dream. But now the dream is cracking, and people are feeling it. Not just financially, but emotionally. Because realizing you didn't buy authenticity, you bought a story. A marketing fantasy engineered by billion-dollar brands with precision and psychological finesse. That messes with your identity. Some people are spiraling not because they got scammed, but because they willingly bought into it. Over and over. They gate-kept. They flexed. They judged others for dupes, while unknowingly flaunting bags from the same subcontracted supplier. And now, they're asking themselves ugly questions. Was I trying to feel important? Was I using this to feel better than someone else? Was I trying to buy worth in a world that keeps telling me I don't have any unless it's branded? Because the hurt isn't just about the product. It's about the self. And for a lot of people, that's the real wound. Not that the bag was made in a factory, but that their identity was. Here's where the story breaks wide open. Because this was never just about bags. It was never just about Birkins or Kellys or whether Cardi B's closet is full of handcrafted French heritage or Shenzhen sweat. It was never just about Kylie's collection, Kim's denial, or even the factory scandal that blew the lid off an industry built on prestige. This has always been about something deeper, something human. We don't covet these bags because they're well-made. We covet them because we're told they mean something. That if we can just own this, we will belong. That this will say we've arrived. That this will silence the doubt, the shame, the smallness we carry in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough. Luxury sold more than leather. It sold status. It sold fantasy. It whispered, you're different now. You've made it. You're worthy. And we believed it. We lined up for it. We saved for it. Some of us went into debt for it. All for that box, that logo, that moment of validation. Because in a culture that ties your value to what you own, luxury became more than a brand. It became a belief system, a religion of aesthetics, a mythology where rich meant righteous and rare meant real. But now the seams are showing, and the illusion is cracking. Suddenly, the exclusivity feels performative. The price tags feel predatory. The craftsmanship feels industrial. And what used to feel like privilege now feels like propaganda. The worst part? This isn't just about the rich. The fantasy trickled down. It infiltrated middle-class closets, TikTok timelines, resale markets. Everyone bought in, not just to own the dream, but to escape reality. We didn't want the bag. We wanted what the bag promised. Power, respect, admiration, freedom from feeling like we didn't measure up. But what happens when the promise is broken? When even celebrities, the people paid to uphold the fantasy, start spiraling. When they fumble their statements, when their PR masks slip, when their confusion mirrors our own. That's when you realize the house wasn't built on craftsmanship. It was built on collective belief. And belief, once fractured, is hard to repair. So here we are. Post-exposure. Post-illusion. The bag is still in your closet, sure. But it feels different now, doesn't it? A little heavier. A little emptier. The magic gone. And the question becomes, now that the truth is out, what happens to the fantasy? Does it die? Does it morph? Or do we double down, build a new dream, more expensive, more exclusive, more out of reach, because the need to believe is too strong to let go? Maybe the next scandal isn't about what's fake. Maybe it's about why we needed it to be real in the first place. And maybe, just maybe, the next luxury collapse won't come from a factory leak, but from within us.